Hey everybody, this is Andrea from Shattered to Whole. Welcome back to my channel. Today's testimony is remarkable. Who says if you have stage 4 cancer that you just have to stop and give up? Well, not my guess. She has been over 10 years now living and healing and helping others, and it is an inspiration and encouragement to all of us. We'll be right back. Stick around. Once you give it all to God and you say, you know what, I'm done, I give you my life, that's when things really start to change. His plans for your life are so much better than what you think you can do with your life. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And if you feel inspired or encouraged to share your testimony, I will leave the link for the email right there. Hi Kiyomi, how are you? Thank you so
Hi.
much for coming on my channel.
Thank you for having me. I'm very appreciative of you, and I'm grateful to be here for you and your audience.
I am honored that you're here to share your story. It's an encouragement to others that have been, living with cancer and every day just trying to fight it. And for those out there that have lost all hope, you are such an inspiration for them. So I want to ask you, what is the hardest season or trial that you've been through in your life? And tell me, how did you get through it? Did God speak to you? How did you manage to get through it?
I guess, like I mentioned to you before on the email, I've been through at least 3 seasons. Let me mention at least the first one, which is it's is a little bit stranger than fiction. So I am a holistic wellness practitioner, and I practice qigong. And part of wellness routine is massage, and breast massage is actually one of those techniques that's healthy for your breasts, and not only your breasts, your hormones, right? And everything connected to the hormones and the chest area. So I was doing self massage, and then I found a lump in 2014. And of course, the first thing I thought of was I got to get a biopsy. At that time, I didn't know that I could have had other options. And so it took a couple months for some reason to get the biopsy. And then it was weird. This is one thing I didn't share with you earlier. I was supposed to get my result, within a week or so, and I didn't hear from my doctor's office. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, and I called them and I said, "Hey, did you get my results back?" And they said, yeah, they're right here." I said, "Okay, can I come and see the doctor to find out what the results are?" And they said, "Well, if it was positive, then you would know by now." So I was thinking, "Oh, yay!" It was benign. So that week I was like celebrating, right? And then so that was on a Monday, and Friday of that week, same week, I think it was the same lady had called me from the doctor's office and said, "Oh, your test was positive. You need to come in and see the doctor." I'm like, "What?" So that's how it started, okay? It was false hope that it was benign. And then it kind of snowballed from there. Now, because I have a holistic wellness background, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this totally naturally. No pharmaceuticals, no drugs, no chemo, no radiation, no surgery even. So that's how I started my path. And when I started that path, it kind of opened up a Pandora's box for my life. It just happened that I shared with some of my closest friends, this is what I'm going to do. And I already had a protocol, lined up. And a lot of my friends didn't agree with it. So we were having like, oh gosh, I don't know what the word would be, but they were trying to talk me out of it. Let's put it that way. And then I felt so unsupported. So, that caused some stress between me and those friendships. And then my partner decided to move and leave out of the state. And then I lost my job around that time, not because of my performance, because the company folded. And then, healing yourself without any insurance help can be very costly. So I got to the point where I just couldn't manage my bills anymore, and I decided to apply for bankruptcy. What else happened?
At that
What
point,
question?
when all of this started happening to you, like your partner leaving and your finances, did you know what type of cancer you had? Did you know what stage it was?
Yeah, it was stage 1, breast cancer.
Okay.
Okay, so I lost some friendships, I lost a partner, lost a job, I filed for bankruptcy. I got in a car accident, totaled the vehicle, and I also got molested too during supposedly a professional massage. I've been a body worker for many years, so I know what a professional massage. I know the no touch zone. Well, this person, went in the no touch zone.
Kiyomi, how? I'm just like, how?
All
How
I
did you
know, I know.
once?
It was a lot, and I was like, "What the hell of this was happening
That's
within,
just
like, a
so
couple months?
much.
What is going on?" And I've noticed that when I call this kinda like a storm because there's so much happening, right? And it's challenging, it's frustrating, I can get angry or sad about all the stuff that was happening to me, I really had to get down to my spirituality, like really connect with God and, my belief system, and also just trusting, right? And that was a big lesson in trust. And it seems like every time that quote storm happens where so many things are happening at the same time and it's very challenging, I feel like, okay, maybe I need to reconnect again or connect deeper. I pray every day, and I meditate every day. So I don't lose a connection. Sometimes we get so busy and distracted that we might put our spiritual practice aside, or, don't go to church that week, or, I
Oh
think you
yeah,
understand what I'm
we let the
saying.
world get too involved in our lives, and it takes us a little bit to get grounded again, to
Right.
ground ourselves again and realize, hey, there's more to this life.
Because
Really, I
when
imagine all of that.
I know, and it was wild, and I remember I was, create a fundraiser. I didn't try, I did. I created some fundraisers, to cover my holistic bills, and I was reaching out to one guy who had his own fundraising platform, and so I was just talking to him, and he told me, "Cancer is not gonna kill you because you've survived all of that." It's like, if you survived all those things, cancer's not. And so I don't really make it that big of a deal. I make it more like it's a reminder telling me, okay, you got to take your supplements, you got to do this therapy, you got to do your acupuncture, you got to do your qigong, it's just keeping me on track, basically, is how I look at it right now. I don't look at it as this disease to be fearful of. I think because I've lived with it for so long. So it's not like, it hasn't taken over my life. It did also change the way I live my life. Like health before, making money was my priority. Now my health is my priority. But you still have to have the money to cover all the therapies, right? It's just a switch in perspective regarding priorities. And then also now, spirituality is also a priority too, right? Because it all goes hand in hand. I believe physical healing, emotional, mental, spiritual healing, we're all of those things, right? So when we don't pay attention or we don't give enough attention to one of those areas, it's going to catch up. At least that's what I believe. In my case, I believe that's what happened. Did I answer your question?
You did. You're doing such a great
Okay.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear because, a lot of people that I know that have had cancer have had to do chemo and radiation, and just seeing the toll that that takes on their lives is just,
Yeah.
it's really hard. And I can't imagine. Now, you've gotten to, at some point, it accelerated, right?
Yeah, I was doing okay for the first year or so, but then it started to grow, and then it got to the point where I was like, "Okay, I need to change something drastically." I don't know if you've heard of this documentary. It's called The Truth About Cancer. Oh, I think I mentioned it to you last time. So I saw that, and it's a whole documentary series about people who healed from cancer non-traditionally. So they didn't heal from cancer because they did the traditional route, the Western route. And so that kind of opened my eyes because there are all these therapies I never heard of. And I was like, wow, okay. So I talked to the creators of the documentary, and they sent me to one of the guests that was that they filmed. And she talked to me for a long, long time about how she went to Mexico to do alternative cancer therapy. And after that conversation, I was like, I want to go there. It sounded like exciting, like what kind of cancer hospital sounds exciting, right, to go to. But I like that they were very comprehensive. They did address emotional healing, so the counseling was part of it. They did some art therapy. They just had like a huge menu of therapies, and my body really reacted well to it. Now, while I was there for a month, and I could feel the tumor shrinking because I had original tumor was in my right breast. And, I could tell, I could feel it, I could see that it was shrinking, and I was feeling good. By the time I got home, I was like so happy. I'm like, I'm getting rid of it. It's shrinking. Didn't realize at that time that once you find a remedy that is working, you need to keep doing it until the cancer's totally gone. And so because I couldn't afford to stay there or continue all those therapies, which most of those you can't do here in the States, everything started to grow again. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And then this doesn't happen to most people. I don't think I didn't know it was going to happen, but the tumor actually broke through the skin and created an open wound for 18 months. And so that was a whole new thing that I had to deal with. And it was bad. It got infected. I don't wanna be too graphic, but it was, weeping, and it was just horrific, and I was like, "What am I gonna do?" And I did so much research on holistic therapies. I tried many of them. I didn't react well to any of them, and so when I went to my primary doctor and he was looking at me, he was like, "I don't know what to tell you." He's like, he didn't know what to do. And then so my oncologist, I saw a few surgeons, they're like, "No, we can't even operate on you." And they didn't give me anything. The Western medicine did not give me any options. And I was like, "Okay, this is weird." You know? Nothing. And they basically thought I was gonna go home and die. That's how they were talking to me. And I was like, "Well, okay. I know that's not gonna happen anytime soon." I just knew, this whole time from day 1, I just knew that I was either going to recover from it or I'll live with it for the rest of my life, but I'm still living, right?
That's so
And then
scary. I
yeah.
mean, were you sick? Were you sick or anything with that infection?
Well, low energy, I mean, it's kinda like if you have, like, a open wound, any open wound, and if it's open and it's infected, then, of course, you're gonna feel like your body's fighting something, like, kinda like flu-like symptoms sometimes, I felt that.
Wow, God really has his hand
And
on you. All these
I
things that are
know,
coming against you. Oh my
I know.
goodness. Praise
Well,
God.
prayer, right, helps. I'd always trusted that something was gonna come along, and then I started to change the way I prayed. Like, instead of saying, "Please heal me," or I would say, "Please send me the right team of people to come help me." So that means, therapists or holistic doctors or support friends, right? So when I eventually, after the 18 months of that, my friend connected me to this guy who created a salve made out of cannabis and CBD, and I put that on. It was the only thing that closed the wound. Nothing else worked. And then when my doctor saw me when it was closed, he couldn't believe it. He's like telling all his nurses, "Come and look at this," because they saw me before, right? And he couldn't believe that cannabis. It just takes something simple like that. And I didn't know that that would help. It just fell in my lap.
Wow. Well, that was divine.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. That was
Yeah.
definitely divinely orchestrated. My goodness, all these things happening to you at once. You are such an inspiration. I don't know. That's a lot. Like
It
that
is a
would
lot.
just beat somebody down.
It can. And, I there were several times from throughout the years where I was either in so much pain or too many things happening, that was pushing against me and challenging me every week. I've been through that several times, and it's weird because growing up, I never attracted that kind of intensity of trauma as much as the cancer diagnosis brought into my life. And I kind of feel like each time quote storm happens where all these things happen at the same time, I feel like, okay, sign that I get to really go deeper with my spirituality, but also go deeper with my trust that things are going to work out, trust that the right thing is going to come along. And just having that trust and that hope, I think, is part of what drives me. And also what drives me is, my job, well, my business is I also do energy healing, then I do sound baths, and I teach qigong. Now, when I practice qigong and I do sound baths, whether I'm teaching it or I'm doing it for myself, I feel like those are healing therapeutic modalities for me. So that's why I love doing stuff like that, because not only am I helping other people, I'm getting healing too at the same time. So it's kind of like a win-win. So I love doing that. That has helped me. I'm an artist too, so I've always loved drawing since I was a kid. When I went to college, I went for an art degree. And I was trying to go for to be a professional artist for many years, and it was really hard. So yeah, I'm grateful that I have, the natural skill set of doing art, because to me, art is therapeutic as well, especially when I'm doing something for me and I'm experimenting or exploring with a new medium. That's great because it's kind of like play. You probably heard this before. As adults, sometimes we forget what it's like to play and be free. And, like I'm sure you've seen kids like run around laughing and having a great time. And like, gosh, sometimes we forget to do that. And I think that's important to remember to bring that into your life. So that's one way, that I can bring joy into my life. I like to dance and, movement is very important, I think. That's why qigong is a good practice for me because it's a meditation that you're moving. So you're breathing in, you're making movement, you're breathing out, and you make another movement. And I know when I practice that, it just sets my day. If I do it in the morning, it just sets my day, where I feel better. And you probably heard a lot of people with cancer, especially with stage 4, we get fatigued a lot. I think because the cancer, the body's constantly fighting it, right? So the body gets tired. And then if you're on any medication, usually cancer medication really wipes you out. Where all you want to do is just lay in bed and just watch Netflix all day. I wish I could do that, but no, I can't. I would go nuts, I think, doing that all the time. Yeah. So
You are so amazing, you're
thank
so
you.
amazing. Oh my goodness. It's refreshing to hear that, and I wanna ask you,
Yeah.
so when you said you just know, like, you just know you're gonna be okay in your soul, can you, like, explain that?
Well, I think I'll have to rewind a little bit in time. So when I was in high school, I was in theater. I was very emotional. I mean, I wasn't a drama queen, but you know, like I was outgoing, I was kind of popular in high school. I guess I'm just one of those emotional kind of people at that time. And I remember I had a boyfriend and then we broke up and I took it really hard. And I was even having like, "Oh, I wanna die," like, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, Okay." I eventually just got down to the point where, "Alright, I'm gonna pray and just ask for help." And so I did, and I'll never forget, I was in my bedroom, I was in bed, and I was praying, and then all of a sudden I heard, "Patience." That's what I heard. And I was like, "Okay, that must be God talking to me." And I'm like, "Give me more." Honestly, "Can you say more?" But all I heard was patience, so I just had to figure out what that meant for me. And for me, that meant, okay, it might be tough now, just be patient. What it'll get better, it'll get easier, or something better will come along, that was my number 1 lesson. At that time, I didn't really think too deep into it like I do now. I'm sure that's what that meant was my message to just trust and have faith that even though it's hard now, just do what you can to move forward. Do what you can to take care of yourself at that time. Do what you can to, as much self care, take care of your priorities and your needs, and allow yourself, some downtime, more rest, more creativity, more activity, more connection. So that was my message that I eventually figured out that's what how I need to live my life is to, okay, no one has a perfect, easy life. There's always something that comes up that, challenges us, right? We can't escape that. So, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with these challenges when they come up so that they don't overtake you and then, knock you out and that you can't be functional at all? Because I do believe that all of us have some kind of skill or gift or something is why we're here. Even if we're here for a couple years or we're here for 100 years or more, you just don't know, right? I do feel like, me finding what brings me joy and how can I also how to use that skill to help others. And I think that's the combination that I've been living lately is how can I take care of myself and also how can I help as many people as possible even though I might not be firing on all pistons physically, I do what I can with the energy that I have. So it's like kind of like readjusting, instead of me worrying about, "Oh, I can't ride a roller coaster right now." I'm sad about that. But then it's like, "Okay, but what can I do?" It's like playing with your mindset, and seeing what can you do to find, something positive out of that situation as well. So that's all part of my spiritual work,
I can
everything.
tell. I can see it, like, you probably speak a lot of positivity into your life, and that
Mhm.
makes a big difference too. If you're looking at positive things and you're thinking positive things, right?
Right. Now
Because
I
we
wanna
don't wanna dwell on, all the things that are not good because then it does bring you down and that affects
Correct.
everything.
I want to add to what you just said. So, I found that our thoughts are sometimes our worst enemy. And so when you start thinking about things that make you feel bad or stress you out, that's not helpful, right? So it's like taking that first step. Okay, what do I need at this moment? Feel better, instead of grabbing a beer, what can I do? What can I do at this moment? Because it's not really a coping mechanism. It's more than that. I guess it's a way of managing how you feel, right, at that time.
Taking our thoughts captive too and making it obey to Christ. We
Yeah.
don't want to think the bad things. So we have to like almost like you have to reprogram your mind too. Not as soon as you start thinking badly, right away you have to like think of
Mhm.
something else good.
Well, that is one way. I have learned because throughout the years, because I do the energy healing and the teaching, the meditation, the qigong, people talk to me like I'm their therapist sometimes. So I always think about, okay, what is something that they need to hear right now? And usually I can tap into their body and the body will tell me what that person needs to hear. And so I need to do that for myself as well, right? So one thing that I would like to mention is one way to deal with a challenge is not so much turn a blind eye to it, but maybe let's say anger. Connect to that feeling that that situation is giving you, right? It's pissing me off. Well, it's okay to feel that, but then you don't want to keep feeling that because that's going to really wear you down. And I believe it can make you sick, heavy, stressful emotions like psychosomatic, right? Symptoms. So I think it's good to allow yourself to feel the feeling, but then see what can you do to release it. So that's where it comes to everyone's probably going to be a little bit different, what works for them. But what works for me is like, okay, I'm going to allow myself, maybe I'm going to do some scream therapy because something pissed me off so much. And and then that way it's out of my body. I just get it out, right? And then you can like scream in a pillow. You don't have to, scare your neighbors or your roommates necessarily. I find it's really fun to find like a valley and just scream into it because then you can hear your echo. It's really powerful and
That's really cool.
you feel so much better. It's a good idea, I think, to feel it and then release it because if you don't feel it, it kind of builds up over time inside your body.
Absolutely.
Why we're stressed out.
Right. So true. Yeah, we cannot hold on to it. It's not good for us. I want to ask you, where are you at now with the cancer? This is my book, From Shattered to Whole. This is my testimony. I write in here about my brokenness, God taking me through the refiner's fire, bringing me out better and stronger. I have prayers and, just what I have believed and how I surrendered to God, how I trusted in God. And you can find this down in the links below.
I'm still stage 4. It did get to my lymph and then to the bones in 2023, and that caused a whole storm. I had a fractured spine from that, and I had to have emergency back surgery and had to learn to walk and drive again. So I can walk and drive again now. So that's great. I would say I'm about maybe 80% to the capacity that I was before that happened physically. There's still a few things it's hard for me to do, like squatting. I don't know if you can relate, but most Asians I know can squat like a champion, and I was a champion squatter before all this, and then it hurt so bad just to, bend my knees and get down to the ground. So, stuff like that, I'm still recovering from. A few tumors shrunk and went away,
Praise
and
God.
there's one that's still active, but I don't let like I said, I don't let it, take over my life, but I do address it every day. I take my supplements, I do home therapies. Even qigong is very healing, I do my acupuncture. So I do all that. And I am taking some medicine, so I have to say that I did choose to do both some allopathic and then mostly holistic. So I didn't give up the holistic, but I added some of the medication after, I got to the stage 4
I mean, I don't hear
of
it a
what.
lot. I don't hear a lot of people that are just, have, that elevated cancer like that and are just living with it and they're living their life, like you are. I mean, it's an incredible testimony that
Yeah.
I mean, it's been since 2014 and we're getting
Mhm.
ready to go in 2026.
I know,
And
it's
you've never had to do the chemo, right? Or the
I haven't
radiation.
I haven't done the chemo. I did do radiation a couple times, one on the spine, because the surgeon couldn't get all the tumor out on the spine. I did choose to do it on the breast, like, gosh, how long ago was that? 2020, I think, is when I did it. Oh, man, it hurt so bad. It was like I would be in the shower crying because it hurt so bad 'cause, anything that was it was raw. This is just no skin, no, epidermis or the up top layer. So that was rough. I wouldn't wanna do it again, at least not like that.
it's just unheard of. I don't, I'm just kind of just flabbergasted right now because I don't get to hear that a lot,
It
and it's
it's not
so
common.
it's people need to hear that. It's so encouraging, maybe somebody else out there maybe wants to go down the natural remedy, maybe
Yeah.
doesn't want to take the Western route,
Mhm.
because it all comes down to what works best for them, right?
Right. And
And
also and also the type of cancer. I mean, I
right.
think I'm, quote, "lucky" because I have the most common type, I guess, and so there's a lot of more choices in therapies for what I have. I think if I had to do it over again, I would have, if I knew then what I knew now, I would probably go back to that. I would still go to that Mexican hospital because I do believe that a lot of miracles can happen, with the therapies that they do. I would probably have had a lumpectomy there, and then they would put me straight into hyperbaric chamber, so that's great because that's great for accelerated healing, a lot of oxygen, exposure, and then, just recover from there, and then still do all the therapies because that's all supporting the body, detoxing and also strengthening. So that's probably what I would do if I had to do it over, but you know what? We can't regret what we did or didn't do in the past. So it's kind of like, okay, everything, I do believe everything happens as it should. We do have free will to change things. I think we are in the situation we are now because we were meant to be.
I believe you're a healer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
do. I
think
believe
so.
you're a healer. I mean, I know like you're in that kind of industry. I just get that in the spirit and in like the Holy Spirit, like you're a healer,
Mhm.
and sometimes I don't know like God's plan. Sometimes we have to go through things, right? To help other people. How do you do what are they called? The sound, not
The
what's it
sound
called? Not
bath?
the sound bowl, but the sound bath. Yes.
Okay.
Do you do
Yeah,
some of that
so
online? I mean, is that
I
something
can. I
people
can. I have it.
can look
Uh-huh.
into or
Yeah, actually, I don't know when this is gonna, air, but I do have a complimentary one that anyone can, connect to in December.
okay,
I think it's the Sunday after Christmas.
perfect.
I can send it to you,
Yeah, send it to
but
me and I
anyone
can put
can.
the link in there and if, any of you guys want to see that, it's very healing from what I've heard from a lot of
Yeah,
people.
so I can explain, sorry to continue to answer your question. So I have different instruments, but my main instrument are crystal bowls. And most people are probably that know about sound baths and the singing bowls, they're probably used to seeing either the white frosted crystal ones or the metal ones that have more like a bronze kind of goldish kind of color and look to it. So I did start off with the white frosted bowls, and I do have some of the metal bowls. My main bowl now, they're from Crystal Tones, and they're amazing. They're like almost like a totally different kind of species, you could say, instrument. Each bowl is infused with either a real crystal, like I have one that has a smoky quartz, or a precious metal like platinum or silver or gold, or maybe some minerals. Like I have one that has some minerals from Salt Lake City, Utah. And each one carries the energy that that element has. So, for example, like smoky quartz, I believe that one's for either protection or detoxing, releasing something that doesn't serve you. And my set is designed for strengthening the endocrine system. So that means it can also strengthen your immune system as well. And that's just amazing, right? That an instrument can do that. I mean, I can't claim that something's going to heal somebody, obviously, but
I'm not surprised,
um,
honestly. I'm not surprised. I mean, I believe in frequencies and everything, if you've heard of
mhm.
that. So
Yeah,
I believe there are certain frequencies that are healing to our
definitely,
bodies.
definitely. Yeah, I'm into
So
frequency therapy too. These are supposed to be tuned to 432 hertz frequency, which is one of the healing frequencies, one of the more powerful frequencies on the planet for healing. I think that's connected same level as the heart, I believe.
it's
So
fascinating, really.
yeah, yes, when I play it, I usually teach Qigong first. That's how I'm a little bit different than most sound healers, is I teach Qigong first. I always do it because I feel like when someone comes to a sound bath, whether it's a private, just one person or a group, they just got there, thinking about traffic or parking or what am I going to eat tonight? They probably have things on their mind, right, when they arrive. So then I have them do some qigong that calms them down, gets them focused, gets them more grounded, and also it can help them feel lighter because I teach the six healing sounds qigong. That's what I usually teach. So yeah, I usually teach qigong before I do a sound bath because it helps my students be more grounded and also to get their focus, more laser focus on what are we doing? We're here for our wellness, right? And so it also helps them feel lighter, and then we're releasing any heavy energy from the organs. So that's what I like to do first because it gets people in a lot more relaxed state and they feel a lot lighter. And then if you're in a more relaxed state, you're going to be more open to receiving the energy and the frequency of the bowls because what they can do is they can get into your cells and kind of give you like a massage. So it's like an internal massage instead of an external massage. And so you are addressing your cell health. And that's what I love about it is at the least you're going to feel relaxed. I can almost guarantee that when you come to my event. Now at the most, if you do practice regularly and if you practice with me, then, maybe you can get rid of a pain or you can get rid of a symptom or there's all kinds of things that I believe, God works through me to help people.
Absolutely.
And I always pray for God to send me the right people to help and
Feel like he always does that too. It's like when I
Mhm.
talk to people, like he'll put people in our paths that are meant to help us or we're meant to help them.
Or both.
There's nothing that's a coincidence.
I
I feel
agree.
like somebody that is gonna hear your testimony is gonna
Yeah.
need that,
I
you
hope I
know?
hope yeah, I would like to remind people,
Yeah.
resilience is it's like a muscle that you need to choose to work it and you need to keep working at it. Because, if you don't have faith, then it's kind of a hard you need that base.
Without faith, we can't please God, you know? It's hard to have faith, you're believing in what you can't see, right? We have to
Yeah.
walk by faith and not by sight, and it's difficult. It truly is. We get so involved in this world and we forget that there's so much more to this life and there's a silver lining, and I think we forget that
Yeah.
all the time. It's amazing, when I get to talk to people that are like you, that have just come so far and been through so much, and you're such a strength and
Thank
an
you.
encouragement, inspiration to other people, that, hey, look what I've been going through. God has been doing these things in my life, and you are healing yourself by healing others.
Mhm.
That is pretty awesome.
Thank you. It's weird because I never thought I would be in this kind of,
We never know.
if you're doing something that brings you joy, and you like it, and if you also get joy of helping people, then really good to spend your time doing something like that. Whether you're doing it professionally or you're just doing it volunteer. Good to find something that you like that you can continue that gives you hope and or excitement, motivation.
Yes, that is so important. At where you're at right now, you're still stage 4, right?
Well, yeah, they're considering stage 4 even though there isn't any on the bones anymore, at least.
I don't know. It's incredible. It really is. It's incredible, and just it's a testament to say that, hey, with the right treatment, and your trust, first of all, God, things don't always go the other way.
I know. I think everyone is here to learn something. Maybe there's one major theme throughout your life. I believe at least one lesson, right? That hopefully you will learn from it and overcome. So I think for me, that was, the trust. I had trust issues growing up and, trusting that everything's going to be okay, trusting in myself. Trusting God seemed to be fairly easy, but like trusting in myself and, my choices, that's a whole other thing that I get to practice.
Your strength is incredible.
Thank you.
Praise God. I mean, it really is. What would you say to someone struggling right now? Maybe,
Mm.
they're at that point where they feel like giving up and,
Well,
just
then
from a point of despair.
I would ask them questions because I would say maybe ask, what brings you joy or what brings you passion? What can you do right now? What can you do right now that you can change, even if it's slowly and gradually, change how you're feeling? So, it's just maybe teaching them to just stop and breathe for one, because sometimes, like I said, your thoughts are your worst enemy, and then it can cause you worry and stress, and your body is like feeling that, even though maybe it's not even happening. It's you think it's going to happen, or you think it's happening, but that's not necessarily true because sometimes, we make up things that we think might be happening in the background, but really it's just your thoughts. So I would suggest that they find a practice where they can stop and just breathe. At least stop and breathe, and then maybe think about what in that moment is okay. For example, okay, I have a roof over my head, or I have a car, or I have clothes, I have electricity, I have running water, anything. Think about something that's true and that is okay in your life. So you're going from despair and you're moving up a little bit because you're finding something that's okay. So then you kind of like see how does that feel? Focusing on something that's okay. Well, how about next? How do you feel even better? What can make you smile. Could it be maybe a sitcom, watching a little sitcom, a little stand-up comedy, or going outside and sitting in the sun, or smelling flowers in your garden? Anything simple. It's like getting down to something simple and quiet. And when you practice something simple and quiet, if you don't do meditation, at least that's the next best thing, is, to sit and just maybe try to turn off your mind and your thoughts and just focus on something that is not stressing you out. And then you just keep building up that muscle. So it's a practice. It's a constant practice.
And you do it all the time, every day, right?
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And look
Yeah.
at you. When I first met you, I just couldn't believe it. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that you were,
I
and
know.
you just don't look like it, and it's an incredible journey. And I'm grateful that you came on my show to share this because, it makes me feel, I don't know, I'm so compassionate that I guess when I have come from a broken place or of pain, you know how it is. We just don't want anybody else to go through that. And it's
Yeah.
like we want to help as much as we can, even if it's
Right.
just telling, you're going to be okay. You're going to pull through this.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to kind of find where that person is at that time, because they might not have a big spiritual base or belief system,
Right.
right? Or they might have a really deep faith, but then, okay, even people with deep faith might even not have any skills as to deal.
That's
So,
very true.
so I think it's just coming down to, if meditation is very important for anybody, I think, and it's not necessarily spiritual practice. It can be, but if you look at it as like, is it as important as exercise, which I believe it is, and I believe qigong is a type of exercise and it's a type of meditation. So that's why I think it's perfect for a lot of people, especially people who have physical challenges, because it can work even if you're bedridden and you can't move much. I've had to practice that myself when I was in that situation. And I know it helps and I know it works. And so I think part of my mission, and why I think part of the reason why I'm still here and still alive and I have some energy that I could do my work, is because I need to see what I can do, and have trust and faith in myself and my abilities and my energy levels, that I can also show somebody else, hey, this is what you could do. There are many options for us. I know a lot of people, they give up, I think, because they think they run out of options. But there are so many if you just allow them to come to you.
Yes, absolutely. And I am going to list some of those things that we talked about, like the sound baths. And I just going to put them there along with the documentary you were telling me about, just as like a
Yeah,
reference for
sure,
people.
sure.
And
Yeah.
maybe link some of, your information down in case anybody wants to reach
Yeah.
out. I know you're like that type of person that just wants to help.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can share I think you have my link tree, right? Yeah, and all my social media is on there, my website's on there. Just
It's just
connect.
I'm honored. I'm honored that you came on here to share this.
Thank
And
you.
I pray that it just, that it helps others and that the Holy Spirit speaks through you and that, it'll resonate with someone, an enlightenment to them.
I hope so. I mean, if I could help
It's
just one person,
no,
then
that's how
that's
we all
great,
if we
right?
all thought that way. Imagine if we all in the world thought that way. If we could just help one
Right.
person,
Yeah.
how different it would be. But that's
Well,
okay. We're meant to be a light on the top of the hill. So
one of my teachers said her goal was to help 1 million people, in her business. And I was like, oh, that's a good goal. I want to help 1 million people, feel better. If you can say, okay,
yes.
I feel better after talking to you, or I feel better after doing Qigong with you or a sound bath or whatever, then that's great. That's part of my mission. And then after I reach 1 million people, I'll go for 2 million.
That is great. That's a great goal. It really is. Well, I thank you so much for sharing, and I will link Kiyomi's information down below if you guys want to reach out or, you want to do one of the sound baths that she does maybe online or something.
Yeah, I'd
And
love to connect with your audience. And
yeah,
yeah, and I hope everyone can find something today that will make them smile or bring them joy.
that's what matters. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you guys next video. God bless you guys.